T.D. Trace.
Uplifting. Whoa, whoa. Bring it together, y'all. Yeah. Uplifting.
Welcome to Uplifting Communities Television Talk Show. This show is to provide information and real strategies for successful living. I'm Terry A. O'Neill.
I'm John L. Brown.
And I'm T.D. Trice. Welcome to today's program. Today we're going to talk to two special guests, Mr. Barry Accius and Mr. Tracy Shaw. Mr. Accius is founder and CEO of Voice of the Youth, a nonprofit organization which provides mentorship to youth and adults. We're also going to talk to Mr. Tracy Shaw, who is leading from all sectors to serve in our communities. His focus is to build a modern-day Greenwood Black Wall Street. Mr. Shaw, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all.
You're welcome.
Sure. So I started basically my career about 33 years ago in telecommunications. I'm an IT guy. Through the course of my career, I found myself working for a huge company, getting laid off, which is when I started Nathan Tracy Consulting. And as part of that, I found that there were misrepresented in certain sectors of the business community.
Absolutely.
Particularly from a skill set all the way to business owner and, having the entrepreneurial spirit. I certainly wanted to try my hand. As a manager, as many black people as I could get that were qualified in the door, I hired as many as I could. And even then, we were still grossly underrepresented. So my focus was we need to own our own, hire our own people, and run our own economics and our own commerce. And so from there, I branched off into various sectors of the community.
So, Black Wall Street is reminiscent of in days when there were a lot of black businesses, like in Tulsa.
Right.
There we had a Black Wall Street,
Right.
and that was literally bombed.
Correct.
And eradicated.
Right.
And so here we find ourselves 60 or so years later, 70, 80, no, almost 100 years later,
Right.
where we still haven't established our own system of investing that's outside of what's here already.
Right.
And so I think that's a very key goal that we try to reach for.
Right. One of the things that I've done since I moved up here to Sacramento to that point is made small micro loans to some of the small black businesses here. At some point, I'll talk to you about Long Dollar. Okay, I'll just go ahead and talk about Long Dollar. The owner of Long Dollar actually lives in Canada now.
Okay.
He started the company 2 years ago up off of Norwood here in Sacramento. And when I met him, he had been in business for 6 months and was struggling. Okay, he was doing very well at first, but then Family Dollar, a huge corporation, came in and basically crushed the business. So instead of letting another black business, which is in my mind a child in our community, fall by the wayside, myself, my family members, people like Barry Accius, Angie Wiggins, Chris Lodge, and Phyllis Fultz got together and made it our kind of project to shop this store, try to save the brand, and keep it from going to extinction. And to that end, actually, I'm proud to say, after 6, maybe 9 months of being closed, the doors closed, today was the first day we actually reopened in a pop-up store at the African Marketplace, 2251 Florence Street.
Wow.
Ooh, okay.
Amazing.
Very
Incredible.
impressive, yeah.
Awesome.
The real story is not what we did. The real story is that the community has these resources. And we just have to decide that this is what we want to do. Because we decide who lives and dies in business.
May I
Family
ask,
Dollar does not decide.
what is the greatest challenge that you find, in accomplishing this?
Well, one of the greatest challenges is most of the businesses here in Sacramento, there's over 8,000 registered black-owned businesses here in Sacramento County.
Wow.
But we don't know because 99% of them do not have an advertising budget. So it's mostly word of mouth, you know, and we're very loyal to certain aspects of the business community, hair salons, you know, things along that line, I'll just say. But when it comes to deciding that we are going to make sure that your business or your business succeeds, sometimes some of us fall a little short in that area. So I'm trying to fill some of those gaps. If there are companies out there, and I run across them that have small budgets and need more money for marketing, then we have that conversation. And you know, in these cases, the 3 microloans that I made is basically on the handshake, a little symbolic paperwork, because the goal was not really to get the money back. The goal was to make sure that they had what they needed to try and be successful.
Nice.
So that's what we're trying to do.
It seems like one of the things that is missing from our education system is teaching our youth how to be successful businessmen and women. And I think that Mr. Accius here is working with you.
Yes, sir.
To help encourage that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about what you're doing, Mr. Accius.
Man, what am I not doing? Thank you guys for having me on the show.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Voice of the Youth, it came from a vision. I was a young man that struggled through my teen years, through my young adult years of being misguided, misled, being involved in a lot of street-orientated things. A hustler by nature. I think a lot of young people, if you're not shooting a basketball or you're running a good speed on a sprint or a football field, you kind of go into this lifestyle of hustling. I was a guy that had my father and my brother, but in the moments where I was growing up in the 80s, the crack 80s as we like to call it, I was influenced. You know, that was hip hop, was the emergence of hip hop. You know, Tupac Shakur's, you know, the Rakims of the world, the Big Daddy Kanes, the NWAs, right? And even going deeper to some of my Bay Area roots, you know, the Huey MCs, you know, that goes a little bit deeper, right, for some folks over their head. But I think it was engaged in such a different kind of world and different kind of reality. And it's kind of same and similar to what we look at as social media, right? This is the age of cable TV. This is the age of actual MTV, the music genre of hip hop. And now what we look at today is social media. Kind of like different eras, but the same kind of influence. So me breaking out and to understand where I was lost at, I had a father, but I didn't have real models. Now, remember I said real models, not role models that we usually say. Role models to me play a role. They're not really real. You don't really know who they are in real time. I'll say, for instance, in examples like Tiger Woods, right? He was considered the role model. And then you find out, well, look at his lifestyle. You know what I mean? So my thing is like, I'm a real model, because a real model is I'm going to be true. I'm going to be moving in integrity, and I'm flawed.
You're going to walk the walk.
Girl, if you better start talking to him, right? I can't be someone that I'm not. And I understand where you're going. So I was put in a position to where I had to make a lifestyle change. And the thing about the game, as I call it, it's a lifestyle, right? So it was a lifestyle change in 2008. I had this idea. I had been working in group homes and different kind of organizations before, right? But still kind of kept that hustle mentality. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do my own program. I'm going to do my own mentorship program. I'm going to go out here and I am going to use my voice. I'm going to use my message, my experience to help others. I had no idea what I was doing. I was scared. I was spooked. But at the same particular time, I was a man that was moved by faith, as well as I knew I didn't want no one else to tell me how to talk to my young people, direct me on what I can say and programming I should do and content I should be able to give to them. I know what I need to talk to my young black people about because I'm living the black experience myself. Right. So that's why I kind of opened up my own operation to kind of do it on my own, be independent. And 11 years later, let's give a cheers for that. 11 years, 11 years later, it's opened up so many doors. I've been able to, as we like to say, impact. We say the impact is real. impact so many young people, pushing them into college, pushing them to some kind of career servicing, and just really keeping them safe, alive, and empowering them. So the Voice of the Youth, we just have a multiple array of programming. She could be my daughter that focuses on sex trafficking and domestic violence.
Yes.
New We Empower Women, that's a young girls program that focuses on young black girls. Talk about colorism. We're talking about hair. We're talking about social things that create the low self-esteem for our young girls. Where we empower that. MOB. Motivating Other Brothers. This is a program that started out in a barbershop. So I did the shop before LeBron James. Let me tell you that right now, right? So we try to have that barbershop talk and a conversation in the barbershop about everything real. We started that in 2013, as well as a financial literacy program. A college ready program where we take our young people to colleges down in Southern California. And the powerful thing about that is the young people that go to these colleges in Southern California, the other mentees who have graduated from high school are the young people that are actually being the college folks that are giving them the tours and everything else like that. So we have an array of different programming, as well as social injustice and empowerment, making sure that we have our young people understand the dynamics of government, understanding the power of voting, right? And voting power is a process, not the only thing, as well as entrepreneurship.
All of which is not taught in schools.
Oh, one more thing, and I cannot forget cooking. We teach them young people how to cook, man.
What age?
Age 11 to 25. Because what I found out, when they try to put us in that box and they say 11 and 18, go ahead. I was the worst at 18 because everything I thought I knew at 14, it didn't make any sense. So 11 to 25, because the maturation of a young person really starts happening when they identify that they're now an adult. And they're a young adult, but they're not a fully adult. And that's when you need to really put your hands on them and say, let me help guide you, because I need to learn about credit. I need to learn how to sit there and pay for an apartment. I need to learn how to buy a car. I need to learn how to cook. And that's why one of our programs, Simple Healthy Cooking, because I'm a chef by trade, I get down, right? I get down. I have to get down. Not everybody take it right.
Okay.
Microwave society. I understood that was a missing component. But I also remembered how happy I was when my father and my auntie used to cook, and even my mom used to cook, and I used to smell those fumes, and I'd be sitting right back like, what y'all cooking? And I'm like, can I do something around in the kitchen, right? So the happiness and the joy that these young people get to do in these areas where are food deserts, where they now can understand that I don't have to have McDonald's and Burger King and Taco Bell as my only options. I can be able to go here in my kitchen, find something, and make something healthy that will help me live a little bit longer.
Right. Okay, I got a good question for you, Mr. Berry.
Yes, sir.
Now we have a generation gap.
Ooh.
Okay, a lot of your elderly people, older people like myself.
Oh, geez.
We are there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we trying to reach out to the young people.
Yeah.
But for some reason, a lot of them just can't get there. What you think the problem is? You a professional at that.
Approach. I think 9 times out of 10 it's approach. When you approach someone like you down here and I'm up here, that's gonna throw me off. Okay. When you approach a person like you know everything and I really don't nothing, and my voice is kind of like, keep silent, boy. Listen, like I came up in a place where I had a lot of OGs that were already in the nonprofit game, and I looked up. It's like, oh, okay, cool. A lot of black men, a lot of black women, and I could get some game. What I found out is my sisters was really helping and providing tools and keeping me inspired. Where my brothers, my OGs, no disrespect, shut doors down. That kind of right there not only enraged me, but it influenced and it kind of got me hyped. Like, all right, I'm gonna show y'all because I'm gonna get to this place, and when I get to this place, all bets are off. Right. And I think that when I found through that process, it was a process of like not allowing folks to be who they are, because I think what makes us great is what makes us different. So the approach of being able to talk to the youngsters nowadays and the conversation shouldn't be a shut down, quiet, I know it all. It should be like, young man, tell me how you feeling. Young man, what's going on with you? Young woman, give me your story. instead of giving them everything that you've learned, because it's a new day and age.
I
You got to
got
open up your ears, and you have to be able to approach them in a different kind of manner.
In my day,
Exactly, right? And don't get me wrong, I catch myself finding that
I
sometimes,
used
right?
to walk 2 miles to go to school.
And I think sometimes we all catch ourselves saying that, like in my era. But there are different similarities to our eras, but respecting their era as much as we need to respect ours, and being able to dot the history about how we're different, but how we're similar, and kind of create that circle we can kind of space and bring it all to the middle.
So your approach, would you say that you have to take an innovative approach to
Oh,
reaching
man.
out to them? Be creative in how,
Girl.
you know, I mean, because
You gotta
for instance, we
dance,
talk about
juggle.
for history, you know, just getting
Yes.
them to learn their history. And that, you know, I do programs in the schools
Yeah.
and speak with youth.
Man.
And I noticed that I have to make it a game. You know,
Yes.
I have to make it creative and
Yeah.
fun to reach them, because otherwise they don't see the connection.
Yeah.
They don't see how they connect to the past. So
You're right.
they have no interest. They want to know, how does it relate to me?
Yeah.
That's not, knowing my history doesn't do anything for me today, right now. So
But that's the good programming that they did many
Right.
moons ago. Because think about it, if we were indoctrinated into our history at an early age,
Right.
where we can kind of like, you know, process it, it's something new to us, so we don't really know what's what and what's not. Because now by the time I'm in 5th grade, I've got everything that I think I'm supposed to know, because that's what we think. We know everything by 5th grade nowadays, right? But if you process it and say, here is your starting point at kindergarten, and that keeps on being worked and worked, the kids are going to accept it a little bit more. You're coming in and you're talking to young people about things that now, in their short amount of life, they don't see how that's a connection. Just like young people don't see how math is equivalent to success for them long term, except for 2 + 2 = what? 4. Because I just need to know it to count a little bit of math. So I think that what made me very popular fast, and what made me a commodity, was my approach. I'm very much still very street orientated. My swag is kind of like the young people's swag, but it's old swag, right? And it's because you got to make sure that they don't feel like we exactly the same, right? We got to have the space. And just like you say, we're entertaining.
Right.
You got to give them some of that entertainment, some of that jazz, hit them with some of their slang. Be like, oh, how you know that? And you know, you come to find out, the young people know a lot about our old school, right? I was sitting there moving, you know, the movie Us just came out, and I was just talking to the young people, and they were like, yo, oh, I love that song, I Got 5 on it. I said, how the heck you know about I Got 5 on that? I've been done played that song out. That wasn't new to me. But it's like they know a little bit about what we used to be involved in. So pressing into, I think, really in tune with their social
Right.
isms, as I would like to call it, is something that helps kind of narrate a different kind of attitude as them, because those kids want someone to come, not to be monotone, but to be very excited about teaching them whatever they were trying to be taught.
And Tracy, I got a question for you too. Now I know you into the business.
Yes, sir.
Now, how do you approach the young black people to understand about business?
That's a good question. So, I mean, much like Mr. Accius, you know, it's about how you approach the children. I still call them children. Okay, I mean, that's
You've
my
earned that right. Right.
These are stripes, right?
Okay.
I mean, I try to relate. I also worked in a group home, so there's a little bit of skill set behind this, you know, in Los Angeles. But I try to approach with respect and concern.
Yeah.
And when I'm
Real
talking
concern.
real concern,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I'm not
real.
gonna,
Yeah,
you can't
like
fake the funk. with
real
the
model.
fuse,
Right.
They can see right through all of that. And if you don't care, then don't follow what I'm about to say. This only works if you're sincere.
If you're
Right.
sincere.
I see a youngster, whether they out here look like they're struggling or not, I'll tell them I love them, perfect stranger. And I'm not scared of that. They're my children, you know?
Wow.
Young buck, what you doing in front of the liquor store?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm just, listen, you stand in front of somebody's business, so this is how you end up behind bars, okay? Do
Right.
you need money? What can I do for you? And that typically transitions to another level of conversation. I'm not talking about something that I should do or I thought about. This is what I do, okay? And you will be surprised. A lot of these youth, I told my brother when I moved here 2 years ago, I said, I'm gonna start telling these kids I love them.
Yeah.
It might be the first time they ever heard
Wow.
a brother
Might ever been the first
Wow,
time
a man
that's-
that look like them with nothing behind it, but sincerity tell you, I love you. And 100% of them kids have said, I love you too, OT.
Oh.
I love you too, man. I'm not making this
It's
up.
this
This
look of
is real.
surprise because they haven't heard that before.
But see, I grew up in a house, both parents, my father
I
was
think
27 years.
Terry and I was talking about that, the looking glass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I like the mindset that you take when it comes to just speaking. If we all had the mindset, these are our children. Just imagine if everybody had that mindset. These are our children.
Yeah.
This world would be a better
Wow.
place.
Different place.
You
Yeah,
know,
no doubt.
and you know.
I mean, I love that.
Yeah,
that
and they
mindset
are. But
you
I think
have,
people are. I think there are a lot of things. The society has changed so much,
Yep.
and how we communicate, and parenting has changed so much. So I think a lot of people are afraid because a lot of the kids aren't being disciplined. And the streets discipline them and they tell us how to raise our children. There's so many factors involved in that. But I just love
My son, he's an artist, and so some young kids be going by the house, practicing and things like that, with their music. And you have this Caucasian guy. He's good. He want to be Eminem. But anyway, he and I was talking, and I asked him. I said, "Do they teach in your school that you went to? They didn't teach y'all Black history?" I said, "You know anything about Black history?" No. And he said, and he told me this year, and I'll never forget that. He said, "This is one of the problems we have in this country, is because a lot of nationality don't know all the stuff you guys contribute to this country."
Yes.
And that's all done on purpose. I mean,
Yes,
it's all
absolutely.
programming. You have to understand. You made a great point about like the parenting, and the unfortunate part about what parenting was before, what parenting is right now. There was a shut off, and when I go by saying there was a shut off, there's shut off time, meaning I could shut down your cell phone. No, excuse me, your phone, because there was no cell phone.
Right.
You weren't supposed to have a pager, right? I could turn off your cable, because guess what? You're not going to have internet. There was all these different things that families could control. Now you automatically have to give the weapons of mass destruction, where I call the cell phone, the device that now opens up every door to a young person's life that we didn't have. So it's a 24-hour cycle compared to when I used to go home. Guess what? I could go ahead and get on cable. My dad in here, let's go watch Playboy, bro. You know what I'm saying? Or I'd have to go run to the magazine store, and that's where I can go read some dirty books or just some violence and things of that nature. There was a cutoff. There was parameters. There's no parental discretion advised anywhere. Once you get that cell phone opens and locks up things that now, before we didn't know what was going on in Alabama, but now we can tap on what's going on in Alabama.
Sure.
And it makes it a lot difficult for parents to parent, because too many parents almost are as similar to their kids compared to you knew the difference. Where now a cell phone is like, well, you got the iPhone, mom, I got the iPhone 10, you got the iPhone 9. Compared to like, you got the little flip phone and I got the high-tech stuff.
Sure.
All these young people have become entrenched into adult living at an earlier
At an
age.
early age.
and without the tools.
Without, exactly, because I
Yes.
think there was always adultism going on, but like you said, Queen, without the tools, without learning how to respect your family, respect yourself, learning how to be able to cook
Yes.
food and doing all those different things that we might say, that's kind of old school, but this is the reality that created great men and women when they became adults, having these skill sets and understanding there's a value in self and not a value in money. We sell our souls for the money. One of the craziest things that has become not only a trend, but an epidemic has been the sex trafficking of young women as well as the young men being the boyfriend pimps. And I'm going to call them pimps because they're boyfriend pimping, right? And that's a whole deeper range. But before, you never heard of that coming up. But in a reality now, that becomes the thing. I get out of high school. Well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to be a stripper. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Well, I ain't going to play football. I'm going to go to Vegas. I'm going to go pimp. And that's kind of like their attitude, and it's almost normal, where before it was like, what you gonna do? You looking at them crazy, like, say what? Now it's almost like, just get money. Because now media has not only promoted it, but other folks are extending their lifestyle as that.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Which is a heavy focus on economics, and that is a whole nother show. Because
Yes, it
economics plays a big game, a big role, a big part in the aim and the goal of these kids as they're coming through. Getting the money.
Man.
But see, that becomes problematic as a result of when, like Barry said, when you have no self-esteem, you buy and purchase your self-esteem.
Yeah.
Right.
And when you don't know yourself.
Oh,
Okay.
I mean,
look at you
No.
coming with Jules. Oh, I got it over here. Okay.
You know, your parents, like
Yeah.
my father used to tell me and my brother, you know what, if I had to pick my boys out of the Sears catalog, I'd always pick you too.
Wow.
That's huge to a kid.
It's huge.
That's huge. I mean, and I had that type of support from the males in my family. So I'm capable of passing that on to my
Right.
children, which
Yes.
I've done using his same words. And it's going to be difficult for you to sell their self-esteem. Maybe we
Right.
created a couple monsters, as a matter of fact.
Right.
But they believe in them.
Right.
One
Themselves
graduated
first.
college, and they
Right.
expect to excel.
Yeah.
Right? And so I try to speak life to children.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yours,
Great.
Yes.
mine, and
Yes.
anybody else's that come through these eyes and this voice.
And we thank you for that.
Amen.
Because there's not a lot of men, not a lot of black men or people, period, that will do
You said
that.
it right, black man.
But, you know,
You
one
said it right,
Right.
black man.
that I noticed, and this to your point earlier about the parenting, is I recall right around 1983 when I graduated from high school and I moved to LA. We became extremely terrified of our own children.
Wow.
They were armed.
Yeah.
They were in armies. In this part of the country, and I can't say that we owned it, and that the epicenter of all of Black Plague is from LA in the 80s. But I will say this: it was dangerous, it was generational, and so there is a big gap, to your point,
Yes.
between the youth and the grandparents. Let's
Yes,
just
absolutely.
say,
There's
because
a-
like they don't listen to mom and them. They might listen to grandma and them because they still have a little bit of respect
Right.
for them, but the parents, for some crazy reason, felt like they had reason to be afraid of their own children. And in some cases they did. In some
Discipline.
cases they did.
Discipline and the parents not parenting and more being friends and not wanting
And that's how it
the
happens.
kids to grow up like they did and not have. So we raised some monsters.
Right. Well, we've had a very interesting discussion with Mr. Barry Accius and Mr. Tracy Shaw today on Uplifting Communities. Would you gentlemen please briefly, quickly share a contact point? Is there a YouTube or
Yeah.
a website people can go
Barry,
to?
Barry Accius, BERRYACCIUS. That's Facebook, that's Twitter, that's Instagram. And my whole thing is just to say, my last piece is patience, consistency, and you have to have a lot of love that when you go ahead
Yes.
working with these people, young people, and passion.
Thank
Passion.
you. Anything else you'd like to share, Mr. Shaw?
I can be reached on Tracy Shaw, TracyShaw36 at yahoo.com. And I would just like to echo what Mr. Accius has said. It's the community has the power to speak life into these children. And I think, every opportunity that we get, we should be doing some form of that.
Amen.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on today's program. With that, I'm T.D. Trice,
I'm Terry A. O'Neill.
And I'm John L. Brown.
and thank you so very much for joining us for this episode of Uplifting Communities.
H1 to take
For the people, for the people.